Hello and welcome to Offstage Podcast. My name is Chioma Umeala, and in today's episode, we are going off camera, or should I say off set. Our guest today is a young and upcoming actress. Some of you might know her from her role as Ayo on BET Africa's Isono. She also has hands-on experience behind camera and is working her way up to becoming a household name in the film industry. And I would like to introduce to you Chioma Umeala, the first of many actors on Offstage Podcast.
Hi everyone, I'm Chioma Umeala. I'm an actress slash filmmaker and storyteller in the industry. You might know me from my role on Isono as Ayo on BET DSTV channel 129. And yeah, I'm on Offstage today having a conversation. I'm excited.
I'm so excited to announce that you are the very first actress that I'm going to have on my show. And I mean, I'm just flooded with so many questions. So I'm going to start off with a very basic question as to how did you get into acting? And like, how did you know that this is something that you would want to do?
Something that's true to me is that I feel like I'm a creative person at heart, and that was like an extension from my parents. I love to draw. I love to choreograph music at Christmas parties. I in primary school I took up music, so I started learning the piano and the guitar, and I joined my school's percussion band. So that was something I really resonated with. But getting older and moving more into high school, and then a little bit older, like I found drama, and I felt like again, it was just an extension of that creativity that I had already had, but it felt like more of a career path for me to explore and actually, make a career for myself. And so that's basic. It's drama is an extension, or acting is an extension of who I am as a creative.
Knowing that you have done all of this and that it's always been a passion for you, did you end up studying to become an actress?
I didn't. So basically, it took a long time to convince my parents to let me study this thing. I was after high school, I was studying a degree that I didn't really want to study. And eventually I said, Mom and Dad, listen, this is what I need to do. So then I went to AFTA for a year. But if anybody knows about AFTA, the fees are very punishing or merciless. They kind of, it's like almost like all up front or nothing kind of thing. So, anyways, I couldn't make it through the full year. So I only did like 1 year at AFTA. And then after that, I found an acting academy. It's like a conservatories type course. It's called Indigo View Academy for Advanced Actors. And I did that course, which took place. We did it at Joburg Theatre, and then we had a performance at the end at Joburg Theatre. So I kind of have like a hodgepodge of studying experience, and yeah, but I try and learn everywhere I go. I go to a lot of SAGA workshops, and yeah, I just try and pick up my tools wherever I can find them.
And I mean, like you just mentioned, the fees for such a thing is so high. And I mean, do you think it should be that high?
Yes and no. It depends, honestly. Like, it is a private institution, but I do think that like the way in which the fee structure is set up is a little bit more punishing, because it's this thing of maybe not everyone has it upfront. Maybe not everyone has it in month to month, but they may have it like, down the line. So it's just making it a little bit more accessible, like the payment plans. But also, some people might argue that you could go to a varsity like Wits, or other schools. I appreciate AFTA's learning program because it's a lot more hands-on in terms of the filmmaking experience. So you have a lot more access to equipment faster. And so like it depends on what you're looking for, but I don't think people who want that kind of learning experience should pay more than someone who's in varsity. It's a very complicated.
For me, it's because like it's so expensive, and as everybody knows, the arts doesn't have a lot of money, And
Right,
then with the school fees, you're like, how are we supposed to manage this as artists? But
right.
I mean, like you mentioned, you've learned so much from them, and you've had hands-on filming experience, and as to my knowledge, you've also done like a lot of practical stuff in the kind of filming
Yeah.
industry with like actually being behind the scenes.
Yeah, so I mean, because like I said, I didn't really go to school. And I agree with you. It is a thing of the arts struggle so much. The barrier of entry shouldn't be that high. And I completely agree with that fundamentally. But in terms of, because the barrier of entry was so high for me personally, I had to find my networks elsewhere, because the other great thing about going to school is like you're building your networks with the people you go to school with. So by the time you graduate, you already know that amazing producer you went to school with. You already know that amazing writer, and et cetera, right? But I didn't really have that in my short time that I was there. So I kind of found ways to make my own connections and my own networks. And I was working at Mac. This is a story. I was working at Mac, and someone came in who, if I do say so myself, I give great customer service. So she was very impressed with my customer service. We got to chatting. She found out I was in the industry, and she said, "Hey, I have a producer friend that maybe you can, like, work under and work with. Let me put you into contact." And I was working under this producer who, I learned so much from her. I was on set of Real Housewives of Johannesburg, where I did a little bit of pre-prod stuff with her. So like I got a lot of hands-on experience. I've also worked, like, one of my coaches from Indigo View, Megan Wilson. She has a big production company, and she puts on a lot of corporate shows. So I also was like on, like, in the behind the scene productions of that, of like putting on this big show and this big thing. And I was there with my little earpiece, walking around, organized, like doing my best. But anyways, the point is, yeah, I've had to have like some hands-on experience behind the scenes as well to get to where I'm at now, and that was part of my learning.
There's so many hoops that one has to jump through in order to like get everything, because I mean there's a lot of work that goes into it, and the amount of people that you work with and the knowledge that they have. I mean it's amazing to think the creatives that you get to work with. So with
Right.
that being said, who do you think influenced your career path so much that you like carry their wisdom with you everywhere you go?
I guess there was phases of my life, so I don't really have like an overarching person who inspired me, and I'm like, they're my North Star. But when I was in high school, it was very much like Kerry Washington, because when she was cast, she was the first lead Black woman. I think it was on the NBC show ever. Like she was the first ever, and her career just skyrocketed from there. From getting that shot of someone taking a chance on her. And I was really inspired by that. And I was inspired by Viola Davis, because she similarly had a similar trajectory, and Taraji P. Henson. So that was like more towards like high school times. And then now, very close to my heart now, is Lupita Nyong'o, just because she's another African woman who, from Kenya to Hollywood. And that's so inspiring to me, because I don't know if it's overly ambitious, but I think anyone who wants to act, there is a sense of like Hollywood is the pinnacle of our industry. So for me, a girl in South Africa, a girl in Africa, I would love to make that same jump. I'd love to make that same impact. So Lupita Nyong'o for me is like someone who I look up to a lot right now.
Such an inspiring person, and I think every role that she has taken on, she has done so brilliant in, and I
Right.
think for you as a young actress to aspire to something like that is absolutely amazing, and like having that person to look up to, there's so many things happening in the world, but there's so many great things also happening, and people blossoming and like creating so many interesting stuff. So what do you think is next for you?
I mean, piggybacking off of my last answer, I hope more international work. I'm not sure if people know this about me, but I don't speak my home languages, because my parents are two different nationalities. So they thought it would be a great idea to just raise me with English. So, you know, it sucks, but we're here now and we're trying to learn. But in the meantime, it kind of blocks me from certain opportunities in the industry, because I don't really speak any South African languages besides English. And so I wanted international work anyways, but now I need international work. So hopefully you're going to see me in more international productions, and yeah, just like branching out and being a little bit more of a global kind of actor.
So now that we're taking it back home, how have you prepared for your roles that you've been part of?
Wow. So I can speak most notably about Isono, just because it was the one role where I had like it's the longest role I've had to play. Let me put it that way. So it's not my first role, it's not my first, industry thing, but it's my first long, big thing. The preparation was very interesting because she's a Nigerian character. I'm half Nigerian, but I was born and raised in SA. I have been to Nigeria. I love Nigeria. That's my second home. But, I'm more obviously culturally sounding and everything more South African. This is very interesting. It's a complicated question because at the time we were in hard lockdown. There were not really many resources. So I was trying to, play more of an authentic character, an authentic Nigerian character, and be true to that. I would have leaned on my dad. But unfortunately, he passed away just before, he passed away in all of this stuff. So I didn't really have him to lean on. So I literally just threw on the African Magic channels. I watched some Nigerian telenovelas. I spoke to some cousins who were willing to help. And I basically tried to influx a lot of cultural influences into this character. Luckily for me, there was a lot of similarities between me and Ayo. So in terms of the characterization, there was not, I didn't feel like I had to, it wasn't like a complete transformation. For me, it was more so getting the cultural resonance of this person, because if that shines through, then all of the other nuances will fall into place. So yeah, that was a little bit of an insight into my process for IO.
Sorry to hear about your father's passing. And from what I've heard, I'm sure he would be so proud of you and what you have achieved and the role that you portrayed. You did such a great job for it. And
Thank you.
there's so many great things that have happened to you in the process. And have you ever done any theater production?
No theater productions. I really, really want to. When I graduated Indigo View Academy, we put on a theater show for 2 nights at the Joburg Theater, but that was through the academy, and it wasn't like a professional working audition and kind of job thing. So, but I really do want to.
So if you can choose any role to portray in the theater industry, which one would you choose and why?
I love Chicago. I love Chicago. I'd love to be Roxy Hart. I feel like I can play the delusion so beautifully. But then I also, okay, so anything I want to play is in a musical. Just give me a musical role and I'm happy. But here's the catch. I don't have a Beyonce voice. I have an okay voice, but I don't think it's a lead voice, which is why maybe Roxy Hart, because she doesn't do the most, I love if they ever put on a Moulin Rouge production. I don't know. I'm very, very into musical stuff. Yeah.
Watching a musical. So I've worked on some theater productions, and the voices on some of those people are wow.
Right. Right.
Wow, man. And it goosebumps and everything. And it would be so interesting to see you portray such a role as Roxy from Chicago. And now that we've got most of the filming and all that topics covered, I've seen a YouTube video of yours when I did my original research, and I saw that you made a video where you spoke about your hair. And that for me, as you can see, I have curly hair. So most products, and I don't want to bring race into this, but let's be very real. So with natural curly hair, you get great product, okay? And I don't know how to ask this without sounding really illiterate, but your video was so inspiring when you speak about the different hairs and different levels of hair. And can you take us through that process for me, just as an educational level of having African hair and having it look so beautiful every single time you walk out of the house?
Thank you. And by the way, I love your hair. I love me some curls, any kind of curl I love. Natural hair is very interesting. I'm not someone where hair comes naturally to me. I'm like my mom, where I'm terrible at plaiting. I can do a few things here and there. So the transition from relaxed hair, which is obviously the bone straight hair, to natural hair, the way my hair grows out of my head, was a very interesting one. But something about it felt right. I cannot explain, but this just feels like, oh, okay, this is my hair now. Not everyone feels this way. A lot of Black girls go natural and they're like, nah, it's not for me. I'm going back to relax. And that's okay. But for me, honestly, it was a moment of okay, I feel complete now. This feels like a complete thing for me. In terms of my thing is keep it simple with hair. When the natural movement first burst out, we were trying all different products, and it was cool because it was the first time where our hair type actually had the amount of products we did to choose from. Because for the longest time, you were either relaxed or you weren't relaxed. It's only relaxers. So, But now that that's all done and we have all of these fancy things, it's easy to feel like you need to have 20 products to do your hair, and you really don't. For me, I said this in the video and I'm saying it now. All I needed was water, a very good deep conditioner, and some sort of moisturizing or oil agent on your hair. And I grew my hair for, at the time when I made the video, I think it was 4 years. I grew my hair for 4 years with just those things and protective styles. So twist your hair, cover your head night, always sleep with a silk bonnet, silk or satin, or satin pillows, because it helps keep the moisture in your hair. Our hair is so curly and coily, it's hard from the natural moisture from the scalp of our hair to get to the base of our strand. So you always want to have things that maintain moisture, and normal cotton fabrics steal moisture from your hair. So that's why you sleep with the silk and satin bonnet or whatever. If you keep all of these things in mind, you're already like 3/4 there in terms of having like healthy and beautiful natural hair.
There's so many people that don't accept who they are, because they always have to fit into something else. But with you and your art and everything that we've just spoken about, you believe in standing out. And I think that's so inspiring for like so many other people.
Thank you. And I'm so glad. I mean, I think it's always great to at least try and embracing what we have naturally. I mean, it doesn't work for everybody, but like for some people, they would have never known if someone didn't say it's okay to actually be who you are, have what you have, live in your truth and your body.
So diverging from that, I feel like I've been jumping through so many topics because I mean I have so many questions for you, but I'm like I just want to ask everything at once.
Yeah.
But what is one of the biggest obstacles that you have had to go through as being in the industry of acting?
I think one of them is the language barrier that has been trying. I've had auditions where, because again, I've been living in SA my whole life. I do understand Zulu. My Zulu's broken, but it's there. But when it's time to speak, I'll never fully sound like someone who fluently and their whole lives have spoken a South African language. So I've had many auditions, and that's one thing. But anyways, the other thing is that I think, especially like in 2021 now, social media is such a prevalent thing in our society, and I think especially for an artist and an actor, it can either help you or distract you. And I think one of the other biggest challenges being a woman, because you can't just be, you have to live up to certain beauty standards, and there's a lot of things you have to juggle with being a girl, but especially with social media, because it's so easy to get caught up in is my career wrapped up in my Instagram followers? Is my career, some people literally cast sometimes now based on followers, just based on followers. It doesn't matter what you did in the room. Like I've had situations where I've been in a room and someone literally asked, or they pulled up my Instagram profile and they were looking at my profile with me. And and I mean, I don't have the biggest, I never resonated with social media enough to have the biggest following naturally on my own. So, I always kind of felt like, dang, like, do I need this? Am I never going to make it now if I don't have, the social media in tangent with what I'm doing? So what I do to manage that or like navigate that is, it's basically like, we are in the show business, and that's fine, and that comes with so many different things. Images is always a part of it, whether there was social media or not. Images somehow is linked to what we do. However, especially with social media, I always say social media is a tool for your career. It is not your career. So it's always learning how to make that distinction for yourself, so that when you're engaging with social media, when you're engaging in Instagram, you're not getting caught up in you're not mistaking that for the actual work of an artist, or as an artist in terms of if you're an actor, then that's not your art. If you're an influencer, it's your art. But if you're not an influencer, you can't get caught up in Instagram the same way as an artist. You know what I mean?
Why would they just pull up your Instagram and just be like, okay, so you posted this. Can you tell us more about
Yeah.
this? That's a bit strange, and like I don't think
Yeah.
anybody has to go through that, like, okay, but how many followers do you have? You're not suited for this role, and then cast someone that is probably, like you mentioned, an influencer, and that's their
Mhm.
art, like handling all that and not actually acting. I don't think that's fair, like give the role to someone that actually deserved it.
Right, I agree, 100%. I mean, and not to say not all influencers didn't want to be actors. I mean, for me, if I knew how to do Instagram, I probably would have all those followers anyways and still wanted to be an actor. But I think it is, we have to not make the dangerous thing of conflating the two, because like I think casting based on popularity, it doesn't strengthen our art in any way, shape, or form. As like in terms of our products, like if you want to make a show, make the best show, cast the best person. Don't cast the most popular person, because that doesn't always translate into the story that you want to tell, you know?
Because there's always going to be someone that perceives it very differently, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
like that's it's okay to make a story, but that's not actually like how you live your life, and people resonate with that differently. And my
Mm.
next question to you is, how do you find a balance between who you are and who you like aspire to be? And obviously those two go hand in hand sometimes, but there's also such a conflict with like, I need to be this person, but that's not who I am, you know?
Oof, I've been dealing with that since I got Isono, because it's this thing of, you really want to act, and acting comes with like some sort of being in a public space, right? But I don't think I was fully prepared for, and I don't think I still am. I'm not anywhere near like upper echelon level of fame or anything. I'm just somebody on TV, But this thing of, I want a career where I have more and more opportunities, but that equals more and more visibility. And then what does that visibility mean? Because it's always like second guessing, like what is a celebrity, or what is someone who's a public figure, like how do you engage? Like it's so weird receiving people saying, oh my god, I love you and Isono, I want to be your friend. And it's like now when you're in that position, how do you handle that engagement or that responsibility? And what do you like, how do you live up to what they see you as versus who you are? I know, like, for me, I cannot make a distinction between who I am as Chioma in my personal life and who I am in the public eye. I'd be too tired if I had to switch the whole time. So I've sort of like figured in myself, I'm like, it's like I'm trying to be myself, but then it's also like hoping that like that's enough, because sorry to ramble, it's a long answer, but the other thing is that especially in SA, and especially like in with black stars in SA, there's almost like this pressure to be on, like everyone's funny, everyone's this and that and that, and those are like one of the most successful people in the industry. And I'm more of a reserved kind of person, so it's like, that's why I say it's being me enough, because it's like I'm not that person. I'm not this larger than life person, and I don't want to be, but I hope it's not going to hinder me in terms of, carving out a space for my career and balancing, being in public versus being by myself.
I think that was like the best way to put it, because obviously people have struggles with like, I am this person, you know, and I am who I am when I'm at home, you know, and then how do I
Mm-hmm.
portray that other people gonna like me, you know? And I know it's like you shouldn't worry about the rest of the world and all that kind of thing, but it's like you still like obviously you are a person, you do care about that, and how do you satisfy everybody and just satisfy yourself, you
Right.
know? It's a really big thing to make sure that everybody is happy all the time, and I don't think that's a responsibility that a person should carry on their own. And just to
Mm-hmm.
come back to that whole thing of like that person was like, no, they want to be your friend, but it's like, dude, I don't even know you. Like, how do I know I want to
Right.
be your friend, you know? And I
Yeah.
think people have a big misconception of like who you see on TV, and you need to remember that that's still a person, you know, and that they have a life outside of the role that they're portraying. But yeah, where do you see yourself in like obviously the future? So I know that I've asked this, but like in terms of mental health and happiness and just portraying who you are and the roles you have to come across in the same way to people.
All of these things happened very quickly, and especially in a time, like I mentioned, where I was experiencing loss. So it's like I was getting these big gains in one department, and like this is big loss in another department. And so I think, generally speaking, mentally, it's been a bit of a tornado in my brain and a hurricane and all these natural disasters. And I guess I'm just trying to keep up and like, survive all of these new changes that are happening, but also trying to catch myself and like and express gratitude and express like, I'm going to look back, and I hope I did take a moment to like breathe it in, and so like moving forward, like for myself, I think the best place you can be mentally it's in a space where you are grounded in yourself, in a space where you always value your own opinion of yourself more than others, and you hope that that opinion of yourself is a kind one. It's one that gives yourself grace, one that gives yourself, like you can be easy on yourself. Like I tend to be very hard on myself, so it's like when I'm in my best space is when I say, hey Chi, you did a good job and you're good enough, and that's something I learned in Indigo View, this idea of just being good enough. So even with like, I don't have to be exceptional. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to, because that's what, like, gets you wrapped up in your head. So being good enough is something I just try and like remind myself, like you deserve it enough to be here, and you deserve your space enough, So dealing with my career moving forward, if and when, things pop off and get bigger, and I might feel the pressure to be something I'm not, it's that reminding and in that mental headspace of, but you as Chi, you are good enough. And that's all you need.
That's so inspiring, just to be happy with yourself and everything that you have accomplished. I mean, we're all learning every day. We learn new stuff. We figure out who we want to be as we go. And I just wanted to say that it has been such an inspiration talking to you. And like I've mentioned in the beginning, you are the very first actress that I have interviewed. And I'm so excited to see what you're going to achieve. And with that, if you can say anything to motivate an inspiring actress, or like even women of color, to perceive or just be who they want to be, what would you say to them?
I always say this, and I'll say it again. Focus on your craft. I'm not even the first person to say this. Many great actors before me will always say, like, there's so many things that might get you through the door. It might be your initial spark of talent. It might be your social media followers. It might be whatever it is. That's fine. But what will keep you in the room and what will give you longevity is your dedication to craft, your discipline, and so no matter what, like, keep your head down, work, 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 work. It will pay off. And you may not see it now, but you'll be surprised how many things just make sense when you look back on it. You're like, oh my goodness, that thing I did 2 years ago is really paying off now, and etc. etc. So for me, if you study your craft, if you focus on your industry, if you learn and you study your industry, all the tools you need are there. People have so much wisdom to share. You'll have more realistic ideas of the industry if you actually learn more about it and engage it realistically, because it's possible. You have to stop making it a dream and start making it, okay, what's the reality of it? Like, how can I get there? What's the blueprint of that I can set for myself to follow? So that just all comes from hard work, studying, and practicing and focusing on craft. And that's what I would say to aspiring actresses.